If you would like to learn how to be more creative with your songwriting, then stick around because this tutorial is just for you.
I'm gonna love you unconditionally. Take your pick.
Hey guys, it's Dylan Laine, and today I'm going to be talking about how to be creative in songwriting, or how to write a creative song. Before we get started, I've made you a cheat sheet to go along with this video. I'll post a link to it in the description box down below. Also, if you're new here and you would like to grow as a songwriter or a musician, you should definitely subscribe. While it is incredibly beneficial to learn tips, tricks, and formulas to better grow your songwriting skills, it's also important to learn how to be creative in your songwriting as well. Creativity in your songwriting will help to keep it from becoming boring, and it will help it to stand out as its own unique piece of art in the midst of countless other pieces of art out there. Being creative in songwriting will also help you to have more fun in the process, seeing that it gives you the freedom to take a break from thinking about how things should be and giving you more time to think about how things could be. So while I do encourage you to spend a good amount of time focusing purely on formulas so that way you don't get stuck in your songwriting process, I also encourage you to focus on creativity as well. To start off, let's look at the actual definition of the word creative. Creative means related to or involving the imagination. So what we really need to dive deeper into is how to utilize our imagination in songwriting. For some people, this will come very naturally, while for others, it won't come naturally at all, and that's okay. The good news is that I'm going to be teaching methods that will help anybody be able to use their imagination and think more creatively in the songwriting process. My first tip is to keep a journal of random inspiration. Take this journal or make a little note in your phone or on your computer and jot down song ideas anytime they pop into your head, no matter how random they might be. Did you see an oddly colored leaf in the midst of a bunch of green leaves? Did you overhear an interesting conversation between two friends over breakfast? Did you have an emotional response to how your coffee tasted this morning? Try to stay aware of all your surroundings and take note if there's even an inkling of a song idea that pops up. My second tip is to write an entire song without revising it until the next day or even a few days later. In other words, instead of revising every single line after you write it or every single section after you write it, just write whatever comes to mind for the duration of the entire song. Then go back to it a day or two later and then revise. This will most likely help you stay in a more imaginative and creative state rather than an analytical one. My third tip is to create an environment that helps you to feel relaxed before you write. I know for me, I'm often able to think more creatively if my surroundings are clean and cozy and quiet. I also feel more free to be creative when I'm not on a strict deadline or time crunch. So I try to take all of those things in mind before sitting down to write a more creative song. My fourth tip is to pick any object to write about. Let's take the ocean, for example. Then write down 20 words that relate to that object. So for me, I would write down 20 words that relate to the word ocean. If I'm having trouble thinking of 20 words, I could turn to a thesaurus or a dictionary and find words that go along with ocean. A few words we could write down for ocean are vast, mighty, and deep. After you have your 20 words, then think of something else in your life that could also relate to the majority of those words. Once you've completed this task, you will now have an object as well as something, person, place, or thing in your life that also relate to the words that related to that object, and voila, you have two subjects for a song. If you create your chorus around those 20 words, and your verse 1 around the first object, and your verse 2 around the second thing that relates to that object, that could make for a pretty creative song. My fifth tip is to find a partner or a group of people that you can be creative with. Take a piece of paper and each take a turn writing down a lyric for the song. For example, if you start, you would write the first lyric of the song, then you would pass the paper to your left or to your right, and that person would write the second line, and so on. In the end, each of you could take a copy of the song and make your own versions of it with your own instrument. Then you could all come back together and compare versions. You might even combine all of your versions together. My sixth tip for writing a creative song is to take an entire week off from songwriting. Don't write any ideas down, don't write any lyrics, don't even pick up your instrument. I know that might sound crazy, but by the end of the week, you will definitely be itching and inspired to write a brand new creative song. Your mind will be bursting with new creative musical and lyrical ideas. My seventh tip is to set aside a 3 to 4 hour time slot where you could do a listening session. During that listening session, I would encourage you to not only listen, but to watch videos of some of the performers you admire most. The reason I suggest the lengthy time slot of 3 to 4 hours is so that you can completely immerse and consume yourself with these artists. You'll begin to notice that you can't help but analyze their lyrics, chord choices, melodies, and rhythms. Take note of the things you like and don't like. Chances are you won't even be able to wait until the end of your listening session to start writing your own song. song. My 8th tip is to find a friend or family member and ask them if you can write a song about something that's happened in their life. If they agree to you writing the song, ask them a series of questions about that event that happened in their life. Make sure you take notes. The reason that this strategy can invoke creativity is because you are now not only writing a song for yourself, but also for another individual. This will most likely push you to write the song and to finish that song so that you can then show them the creation that you've made. My 9th tip is to break the rules. If you're like me and always have a wealth of songwriting tips, tools, and formulas floating around in your brain at any given moment, then see what happens if you go completely against some of those strategies that you would normally implement into your songs. You could try breaking the rules for the entire song or for just a little section of the song. My 10th tip is to be okay with failing. If you write a creative song and you hate it, accept it and move on. I've personally found so much freedom in realizing that some of the songs I write will only ever end up being practice songs that helped me to learn and grow. So in that case, no song that I ever write is truly a failure or a waste of time because it's benefiting me in some way, even if it's a song that I never play again. As ironic as it may sound, creativity is also a tool and a skill that needs to be learned and practiced. Again, if you would like to download the cheat sheet for this video, I'll post a link to that in the description box down below. And until next time, remember to play, write, and spread the light.